Like these videos just have been serving me a lot of purpose. Okay, so today I'm gonna talk about why I always had a fear being on social media, my history being on social media, and also why that translated to me having a fear of being seen for years to come. So of course I am like millennial slash Gen Z. So social media didn't really be like where so I'm the first generation where social media was really part of my adolescence and my adolescent experience. Um, so that I remember my first time, I think this was like back in like 2009. I was a preteen, and I remember this was the first time I created a social media account. This was when MySpace was still on and popping, a big thing. So I made a MySpace. I didn't really know how to use it that well because I guess you had to be really good with coding from like what I remember. But it wasn't really something that like I resonated with a lot. Because it was just like complicated. It was definitely meant for like the big teens, and I was still a preteen. And I remember when I created it, I think actually like my older cousin, she came across me like using like the laptop, like the shared laptop in at home, I forgot. And she saw that I had a MySpace account, and she was extremely angry with me. She was just like, why did you make a MySpace? You're very young, blah blah blah. Like, so there we go. So like that already started to make my associations with social media being bad, not a good thing. And I think I remember like her telling my mom about it, so that had that trickle on effect. And so now fast forward, I think like maybe a few months in or a year into after making that MySpace account, I ended up making a Facebook account. And Facebook was really prominent for me during my middle school years. I definitely stopped using it as frequently as I entered high school. It was really middle school that was the peak of me using it. And when I was on Facebook, I would just be unfiltered. Like I would just literally talk about my frustrations with like my family members who like annoyed me, especially like my parents. I would just like talk about whatever was on my mind. And my classmates, they weren't like the biggest fans of that, and then they would like call me out like when I would post my statuses and stuff like that, and then they would tell me just like how ungrateful or bad person that I was. And as well, because like I was also just being really unfiltered and honestly preteen reckless, if I'm gonna be honest. I remember my cousin, that same cousin, and my mom that I'm talking about, they saw those posts and then they went complete rage on me. And then they forced me to suspend my Facebook account. And I remember just it being like a day of just a lot of like fighting and just kind of like coming up against me. And I just remembered that day for years going forward because it was a pretty traumatic like day that happened. Like literally it was like a fresh day, and then I just saw like my cousin just coming at me, like charging at me, being really angry about like me sharing, like making these statuses. And also too, like not only that, but I'd also be like very truthful and like be really like, and also be unfiltered when I would comment under other people's statuses. And then some people also didn't like that. That includes my cousin. So that also kind of like adds a bit more context to the story. Okay, so of course, so I had suspended that Facebook account because it was bestowed upon me to do so. And I think I was able to figure out how to reactivate it, I think like later that night or maybe like a few days after, like literally just pressing some buttons. And so after that, I think like months after I was able to reactivate my Facebook account, my mom found out, and then she got really upset. And I remember like getting like slapped in the face, upset, yes. So there it goes. So like now it's like more a compound effect of like why social media is not a really great thing. And so I think I made like Instagram also became popular when I was like in late middle school. And so that wasn't like a bad experience at all, but I never really posted pictures of myself. Like I would say going from late middle school to my college years, I when I would use social media, I wouldn't post anything. I wouldn't post pictures of myself. I would just use it just to like observe other people in their lives. So yeah, like, and that kind of like started to have a bad effect on my mental health because I was comparing myself to a lot of people, and just the fact that I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin to post about my own life, it just made me like develop an inferiority complex. So I just never really had that, you know, tie with social media. And it was around roughly after I graduated college where I decided that I just completely deleted my Facebook account. Like, I just didn't want it anymore. I was just like, whatever. And I also wanted to go on a journey where I just really worked on like my inner self. So, and I just felt like social media was kind of deviating from that plan. So I decided to just remove it and delete it. And because of that, I haven't been able to, like, I haven't stayed in touch with like pretty much anyone for most of my life. But one thing that really bothered me a lot about social media too was that a lot of it would, especially like let's say Facebook or Instagram, is just the fact that it's mostly people based. And so like you're mostly just going to see activities from people that you know, people that you've came across throughout your lifespan. And to be honest, like, that wasn't something that resonated with me because I'm just like, quite frankly, I really don't care about that girl I knew from 8 years ago who now has a dog or has a house. Like, that doesn't spark interest in me. Like, it's just not relevant to my own life. And not only that, but sometimes I felt like I would get like micro offended. Like, let's say if someone rejected like my Facebook friend request or didn't follow me back and stuff like that, I would tie that to like self-validation, external validation, and my self-worth, which wasn't healthy at all because a lot of those factors are just outside of my control. And another thing too is because since I was someone that was really reserved and you know, stayed to myself a lot, I did not I felt like that also kind of reflected in like the quality of my social media experience. And I felt like that I just didn't really like that. So I recently recreated like an Instagram like over a year ago, but I have posted no pictures and it's mostly just like a few people that I follow here and there. But one thing now that I feel like I really want social media to be is not necessarily just a place of familiarity where I just follow or friend people from like a decade ago who I haven't seen since. It's more so I want this to be an opportunity for me to find, just to be more, just to, how would I say it? Just to cultivate my voice, my confidence, and finding resonance. Like, that's exactly what I enjoy. And I felt like, yeah, I've tried like Reddit, you know, like YouTube shorts, or even just being on YouTube. And while, and like maybe a little bit of Pinterest, like here and there, I was not really big on Pinterest. And while like those were also like really good experiences just to like observe, it turned into a place where I was just like consuming a lot of this content. And it also, it kept me in observer mode, and I didn't find that fulfilling. And so now I want to shift into creator mode, and just, yeah. I lost my train of thought. I do that a lot. That's just where my mind goes. It's just like, because like I am trying to keep my mind in like one straight topic, try to finish my point, and then a point would just pop up in my mind and I want to make it, like, it just overrides what I'm ready discussing, and it's just like my mind just wants to let it out. But that is just one thing that I am going to take pride in, because it's just part of how I am and how I think. And going back to what I was saying about like you know, my recent like social media experiences, like just observing on like YouTube or like Reddit, it got to a point where it wasn't just quality anymore, because it just made me prone to doom scrolling. Like, I wasn't necessarily actually reading the content or absorbing it or gaining anything out of it. I was just like scrolling just for the sake of scrolling, just for the sake of just to pass time. And I feel like I want this to now shift into something, like I said, creative and purposeful. And yeah, like a lot of these experiences that I just mentioned really tied in just me having a fear of being seen, especially when I would use my voice, even if it was unfiltered, even if it was, since I was like, from being a child, I got ridiculed from it. I was just dismissed from it. because of it. And I just always thought my voice wasn't valuable. I thought my voice wasn't something that I wanted to share, especially kind of adding on to some of the negative experiences that I've discussed in some of my previous videos. Like, I never really got comfortable with my skin. And that always kind of just made me want to just hide, especially after I deleted my Facebook account, like I would say half a decade ago. Like, I just would never be on like any type, like I just wanted to just live a life of hermitude, if that's even a word. Even though like what kind of started when I started kind of seeing that I want my social media experiences to be more interest based was when I would like attend like online events on like topics I was interested in, like psychology or philosophy or math, like from Eventbrite or Meetup, and also like going to in-person events. So I also found that fulfilling during that time when I was doing it. But also I forgot another experiences that I mentioned was just like, oh yeah, back in like high school, like a couple friends and we made like lurking Instagram accounts, and where we literally just followed everyone that we knew. Like, we didn't interact with anyone. There was none of that. It was literally just to observe people's content. And I remember holding onto that account like a few years like after we made it. So like also like a little bit into college. So that also kind of like added to like my inferiority complex and all of that good stuff, like because I was just so focused on, you know, seeing myself as someone who's sitting in the bleachers of my own life and just observing other people who have so-called better lives than me. So yeah, I kind of just wanted to like talk about that.